Ladies, let's start by telling the truth no one says out loud. Sexual addiction isn't just about sex. It's about obsession, desire, longing, but not just for the body, for the essence of someone. So, if you want a man to be sexually addicted to you, not just attracted, not just interested, but addicted, you must touch more than his skin. You must touch his soul. The myth of lust. We've been sold the lie that lingerie, positions, or some new bedroom trick is enough, but physical pleasure fades. What stays? The emotional high he gets when he's with you. So here's your truth. A man becomes sexually addicted when you become emotionally unforgettable. The power of feminine mystery. Don't give it all away. Mystery is not playing games. It's giving a man room to chase what he can't yet understand. Leave space. Let him wonder. Let him feel the emptiness when you're not around. That ache, that's desire being born. And that's where addiction begins. Build tension, not just release. True sexual addiction is not in the climax. It's in the build-up, the unspoken glances, the way you don't text him back right away, the way you look at him but don't touch him. Tension keeps him burning. Release ends the chase. Speak to his dark desires. Every man has a shadow, a place where his untamed fantasies live. Don't be afraid to go there with him, but not to control him, to understand him. When he feels he can show his deepest desires to you, without shame, you'll become the one place he's truly free. And freedom is addictive. Emotional imprinting. Make him feel something no one else does. Make your touch calm him. Make your silence haunt him. Make your energy ignite him. Create memories that hit him at 2 a.m. when he's alone. That's when he realizes he's not just aroused by you, he's attached to you. Emotionally, biologically, spiritually. When we talk about desire, most people immediately think of the body, of touch, of intimacy, of heat between two people. But what's often misunderstood, what's rarely taught, is that true, lasting sexual obsession isn't born from the physical alone. It's born from emotion. Emotional connection is the foundation of irresistible desire. You can arouse a man with your body, yes, but to make him crave you when you're not around, to make him addicted to your presence in the deepest sense, you must enter his emotional world. You must go beyond his skin and reach into his psyche, his history, his soul. When a man feels emotionally seen, he opens, not in weakness, but in vulnerability. And that vulnerability creates a powerful bond. It's not about fixing him. It's not about mothering him. It's about being the only woman who knows how to hold space for what he doesn't show the world. Most men are starving for that kind of intimacy, but they don't have the words to ask for it. When you become the one who understands the silence behind his confidence, the fatigue behind his ambition, the boy behind the man, he becomes emotionally entangled with you. His body may respond to many women, but his soul responds to very few. And when you're one of them, he can't pull away. This kind of emotional intimacy creates addiction because it awakens something primal in him. The feeling of being truly accepted, not judged, not tested, not compared, but witnessed. And it's in that emotional witnessing that sexual magnetism intensifies. Your energy becomes addictive. Your scent becomes a trigger. Your voice becomes a comfort. Even the memory of you becomes arousing. He doesn't just want your body, he wants your presence, your aura, your truth, because in your presence he feels more himself than anywhere else. So many women give their bodies hoping for love, but when you give your soul without losing yourself, when you offer emotional richness, grounded feminine energy, and intuitive understanding, you unlock a level of attachment that no physical act alone can achieve. It's not about pleasing him or performing for him. It's about making him feel safe, feel seen, feel alive. A man will return again and again to the place where he feels most alive. And that's the key. If you want a man to be sexually addicted to you, ignite his mind before his body. Learn the rhythm of his silence. Know when to lean in and when to pull back. Don't just talk, listen between the words. Let him feel that with you, he's not performing or pretending. He's real, he's home. And that sense of emotional home, that sacred space where he can surrender without shame, becomes the place his desire lives, breathes, and burns. Mystery is not about manipulation, silence, or playing hard to get. It's about understanding the deep psychological truth that humans crave what they can't fully grasp. What is mysterious is magnetic because it awakens a man's imagination, his curiosity, and his need to explore. And when a man is curious about a woman, when he cannot completely read her, he keeps coming back. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about holding some of yourself back so that he experiences you in layers, not all at once. When you reveal everything too quickly, your emotions, your intentions, your body, there's no chase, no hunger, no wonder. He doesn't have space to project his fantasies, to wonder what you're thinking, to feel your energy when you're not even speaking. And that wondering, that uncertainty, that's where addiction starts. Men are wired to pursue, but what they pursue most powerfully is what feels slightly out of reach. Not unavailable in a cold way, but ungraspable in a deeper sense. It's in the small, deliberate pauses. The subtle look without a full explanation. The unexpected silence when he expects words. These are not games. These are energetic invitations. You're not saying, "I'm not interested." You're saying, "If you want to know me, you have to pay attention," and attention builds desire. When a woman carries mystery, she doesn't walk into a room trying to be noticed. She lets her presence speak louder than her words. She listens more than she explains. She doesn't need to fill the silence because she knows silence is powerful. It creates tension. It creates space. And in that space, a man begins to imagine. He starts asking questions. Who is she really? What is she thinking? What would it be like to touch her? To know her fully, to break through that calm and see her raw. He starts to crave that inner access, not just the physical access, but the emotional, spiritual, and psychological access to you. Mystery activates his hunter instinct, not just for sex, but for closeness. He begins to feel like your world is one he wants to explore, but never fully conquer. He can have you in a moment, maybe even physically, but he knows there's always more to discover. That sense of depth keeps his interest alive long after the initial attraction fades, and that's the difference between chemistry and obsession. Chemistry is immediate, obsession is sustained, and it is sustained through mystery. When you leave room for him to chase, when you give pieces instead of the whole, when you let him feel you without always explaining yourself, you become the most compelling thing in his life. Not because you're trying to be, but because he realizes he can't quite figure you out, and that not knowing becomes the very thing he can't get enough of. Tension is the space between desire and satisfaction, and it is in that space that true obsession is born. When everything is instantly given, there is no room for craving, no room for emotional build-up, no room for anticipation. But when you create and hold tension, emotionally, physically, energetically, you allow a man to long for you. You allow his imagination to work over time. His desire grows in that waiting, in that uncertainty, in that yearning. And that kind of slow burn arousal becomes far more addictive than any instant release could ever be. It's the moments when your hand almost touches his, but doesn't. It's the look you give across the room that says everything and nothing at the same time. It's the way your energy lingers when you walk away, and he's left wondering what would have happened if you had stayed just a little longer. Men don't just crave bodies, they crave the sensation of wanting. Tension creates that sensation. It makes the experience of you stretch out over time instead of peaking and disappearing. It's the conversation that flirts with vulnerability but stops just short. It's the kiss that deepens and then pulls away before it fully consumes. It's the laugh that hints at something deeper, something personal, but doesn't open the full door just yet. In that emotional and physical delay, you're not denying him, you're igniting him. His mind stays active, his body stays alert, and his emotions stay engaged. That's the recipe for addiction. The feminine energy that knows how to build and hold tension is powerful. It doesn't rush, it doesn't beg, it doesn't perform, it simply is. It leans into stillness. It knows that anticipation is its own form of pleasure, because when a man has everything all at once, he doesn't have to think, feel, or reflect. But when he is slowly pulled into an emotional and sensual experience that never quite resolves on his timeline, he begins to spiral deeper. He doesn't just want your touch, he wants your presence, your attention, your surrender, and he'll keep coming back to try and reach it. Tension is emotional foreplay. It's the reason he thinks about you at night when you haven't even touched him. It's what makes your voice echo in his mind and your scent trigger something wild in him. It's the reason a glance can feel more intimate than a kiss. And the more you understand how to sustain that tension without rushing to release, the more power you hold. Because men are used to fast pleasure, what they're not used to is slow seduction. They're not used to a woman who knows how to turn him on just by being still, just by pausing, just by waiting. In that waiting, he begins to associate you with a high he can't get anywhere else. He starts to depend on your energy for emotional stimulation, not just physical satisfaction. And that dependency on your ability to make him feel alive without giving him everything is what makes you unforgettable. Every man carries within him a shadow, the hidden parts of his desires, fantasies, fears, and emotional wounds. These are the sides of him he rarely shows to the world, because society has told him to repress them, to perform strength, to mask vulnerability with control. But that shadow doesn't go away. It waits quietly for a space where it can be seen without judgment. If you want to make a man sexually addicted to you, you must learn to enter that shadow, not to fix it, not to tame it, but to witness it. When a man feels that his darkest, most raw desires can exist in your presence without fear or shame, you become the only place in his life where he is fully free. And freedom, especially sexual freedom, is intoxicating. Darker desires are not just about rough sex or taboo fantasies. Sometimes they're about wanting to feel powerful, to surrender, to be desired in a way that's not always accepted. Sometimes it's about control, other times about being deeply vulnerable. Sometimes it's simply about being able to admit he doesn't have it all figured out. The woman who can embrace these layers, not with disgust or insecurity, but with curiosity and safety, becomes irreplaceable because she's not afraid of what he's afraid of. She doesn't shrink away from his intensity. She leans into it with grounded feminine energy that says, I can handle this. I can hold you here. Most men are terrified of being fully exposed, not just physically, but emotionally. They're afraid that if they show too much, you'll think less of them, that you'll use it against them, that you'll see them as weak, perverted, or broken. But when you don't flinch, when you look into his desires and say, I see you and I still want you, you shatter something inside him. You break the wall that keeps him distant. You create a depth of intimacy that no surface-level passion can touch. This kind of acceptance makes you addictive because you become his emotional permission slip. You become the only space where he doesn't have to wear a mask. That emotional safety unlocks a wildness in him that no one else gets to see, and in return, he begins to crave you, not just sexually, but spiritually. You're no longer just a woman in his life. You become a symbol of his deepest liberation. His pleasure is no longer just pleasure. It becomes a healing, a reconnection with parts of himself that he thought he had to bury. You don't need to act out every fantasy, but you do need to be emotionally present enough to hold them. Ask the questions no one asks him. Invite the conversations that let him share without fear. Let your energy say, there's nothing about you that scares me. And when he senses that, you become the one woman who gets all of him, the light, the dark, the hidden, the exposed. That's not just sexy, that's unforgettable. Creating emotional imprints is about giving a man moments with you that don't just please him in the present but haunt him in the future, in the best possible way. These are the moments that replay in his mind at night. The subtle touches, the sounds of your laughter, the softness in your eyes when you look at him a certain way. These are not big dramatic events. They're not even always sexual. They're energetic. They're felt in silence, in the way you enter a room, in the way your voice lowers when you're being real, in the way you pull him closer, not with your hands, but with your presence. A man doesn't become addicted to a woman because she's always available. He becomes addicted to the version of himself he feels when he's with her, and the emotional fingerprint she leaves behind every time she walks away. The most powerful imprints are created through contrast. When you give him deep emotional connection and then allow him space to miss it, the imprint sets in stronger. It's the warmth of your body one night and the distance the next morning. It's the feeling of being emotionally understood by you and then not being able to find that feeling with anyone else. That contrast creates a vacuum inside him, and that vacuum turns into longing. And that longing, when it's tied to safety, sensuality, and emotional intensity, becomes obsession. Imprints are formed when you stop being predictable and start being memorable. Don't just say what every other woman says. Speak to his deeper needs. Touch him in places no one thinks to touch. His thoughts, his fears, his old wounds. Compliment not just his looks, but how he thinks. Notice the things he doesn't say. Let your silence comfort him more than someone else's words. When you do this, you stop being just another person in his life. You become an experience, an energetic signature that lingers long after you leave the room. Emotional imprints also come from presence. When you're with him, be with him. Not in your head, not on your phone, not rushing to impress. Just grounded, open, and fully present. The more deeply you see him in those moments, the more deeply he will feel you later, when you're not around. And that is when the imprint is strongest. When he's lying in bed and suddenly he smells your perfume in a room you've never been in. When he hears a certain song and it brings your memory crashing back into his mind with full force. That's not an accident. That's the emotional residue you left behind, because you weren't just a passing interaction, you were a felt experience. And the truth is, the body forgets pleasure quickly, but the heart never forgets how it felt in the presence of someone who saw it. When you give him that feeling, even once, he will spend his days and nights trying to get it back. Not because you asked him to chase you, but because you left a part of yourself in him that he cannot replace with anyone else. Making a man sexually addicted to you goes far beyond physical attraction or surface-level seduction. It's a psychological and emotional art, one rooted in creating deep, lasting imprints on his mind, body, and soul. When you awaken his emotional world, when you carry mystery, hold tension, embrace his hidden desires, and leave behind moments that live inside his memory, you stop being just a lover. You become an experience he returns to in thought, in fantasy, in craving. This kind of bond doesn't rely on control or performance. It comes from your emotional depth, your feminine energy, and your ability to connect with the man beneath the mask. And once he feels that, truly and fully, no other woman can touch him the same way.